Welcome back, folks, to the Mailright Show. This is episode 158. We got a great special guest with us. I'm going to totally butcher his name completely, folks. Not even his surname. It's Beatty Carmichael. And I'm going to let Beatty introduce himself to you. Would you like to do that quickly, Beatty?
I would love to. Hey, everyone. Beatty Carmichael here, and love being here. In terms of an introduction, Jonathan, a little bit of my story, or just a hello?
Just a quick couple of sentences of what you do.
Okay. Sure. Couple of sentences. I love marketing. I'm passionate about it. I love marketing to generate listings. Been in this business for about 20 years, working with sales agents, generating consumer leads. Started working in the real estate world 2012. We started getting tremendous results with our clients, helping them earn as much as $100,000 within 6 months to a year in geographic farming using some things we've done. And then over the years, started work on additional things to help them win more of the listings that we are identifying for them. And that brings us real quickly to today on what we do and working with a personal list and past clients and sphere of influence.
That's great. And Robert, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Robert Newman, founder of Inbound REM. That should be enough for the moment. Your turn. Yeah.
And I'm the founder of Mailright. We provide a platform to get you quality leads with emphasis on using Facebook to get those leads. So in this show, folks, we're going to be discussing how to build a really powerful and effective personal farm, and how the techniques and the way of building up a relative small group of referrals, but have a really powerful referral engine. So, Betty, I could just give it a quick outline. I thought that's what we agreed. Hopefully I got it right. So maybe we could start with what you see as some of the mistakes maybe some of the people that come to you are making around getting a quality farmer that will refer people to them. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds super. So the concept, I think, is how do you take that personal list, your personal farm, your past clients, sphere of influence, and other people, and get more sales out of it on an ongoing basis. And I think the thing that the biggest mistake most people make is they think they're doing okay. Because what happens is you've got your list, you're working your list, you get sales from it, you compare yourself to other people in your office that you know, and you say, I'm doing okay, so this must be the right way to do it. But what they miss out on is how many more sales over here you really can get if you just understood what was possible. Can I share a study with you that kind of correlates? Okay, perfect. So a few years back, an organization wanted to really understand how many sales should you be getting from your personal contacts list. So they surveyed thousands of agents across the country. They got the data back, and as they started tabulating it, what they found is once you cross a threshold in terms of how consistently and significantly you touch that list, the average agent in that list was getting 17 sales a year for every 100 personal contacts that they were marketing to. So now that you got kind of the statistical reference, you can start to look at how many sales a year are you getting on your list and say, am I really doing all that well or not? And I think what happens with most people is they're doing far shy of what they should be doing. And that's the biggest mistake. If you don't know you're missing the mark, then you'll never hit the mark.
Truer words never said, actually. you got to be able to measure something before you can get a consistent improvement on it. So you've outlined that, fantastic. So let's go on. How do people improve the amount of quality referrals they get with the amount of people that they know in their community?
Yeah. So I would say there's 5 steps, or better yet, I might say there's 5 pillars, okay? And what happens is all these things go in. If you imagine you put all this stuff into a cauldron and kind of mix it up, all these things apply. It's not one step after another, but it's these 5 different things. I think the biggest thing is understanding how does a homeowner choose an agent? Because once you can figure out what causes that homeowner to choose one agent over another, then you can modify your marketing to apply these principles, and you can start to get more sales from it. So what we've started to learn is it's actually a formula. You have two things. You have trust and you have top of mind. And the goal is to increase your trust and your top of mind within those homeowners' mindsets. And a real simple way to kind of understand the dynamic is if you put trust on a scale of 1 to 10, and the same thing with top of mind on 1 to 10, then if your trust is a 3 and your top of mind is a 5, if you were to multiply those together, then 3 times 5, you're about a 15% likelihood that you're going to get a sale or a referral that's coming out of your list. But if you can increase your trust, let's say to a 9, and increase your top of mind to a 10, multiply those together, now you're about a 90% chance of getting whatever sales and referrals come out of that list. So the whole idea, the first thing is to start to understand that you've got to increase both trust and top of mind. What I see with most agents is they work on top of mind, but they have no clue about trust. And so you have this lopsided stool that you don't really get very far down the road.
What are you doing to, when you say increasing trust, a lot of our audience isn't actually going to understand what you mean by that, or they're going to need something more specific in order to make it more apparent. So what is it that you are referring to when you say increasing trust?
Very good. So that's actually step number 2, or pillar number 2. How do you do it? So you have to understand that there's a concept in marketing that really applies to what goes on here. And it's the concept of outside perception versus inside reality. And here's what it means. The outside perception of that homeowner is that all agents are the same. Would y'all agree with that?
Sure.
To a degree.
I mean, for the sake of this conversation, yes.
Okay, let me see if
I would say there's a lot of filters in the average seller's mind. That's been my experience being in this industry a long time. But let's just say that for the sake of argument that whether or not they have filters or not, the average seller is in the same category as the average agent is in the same category as other agents. Okay,
so let me give you a real life example. A client called me up. His name is Jason. He's the leader of a team. That year, his team did 1,120 transactions, so it's a huge team.
Right.
And they've been targeting a geographic farm of 2,000 homes for 6 months, no results. He called me up and said, can you help us? And I said, I think I can. Let's get on the phone and talk. So I was on the phone with Jason and his assistant, Cam, and I was asking him what's going on in this farm. And I immediately said, well, it sounds like you're not well branded. And I used the wrong term because, oh, no, Beatty, I'm really well branded. I said, okay, what do you mean? He said, I've been spending $8,000 a month for 2 years. I'm on the radio, I'm in the billboards, I'm on the park benches, I'm at the grocery store, at the athletic stores, athletic events. I do a 12-page newsletter once a quarter that I send out. And I said, all that's going to this homeowner group of 2,000 homes? He said, yes. I said, well, then how many listings came on the market in the last 6 months? And he said, probably about 200. I said, how many of those listings did you get? He said, I got a couple. So I said, Jason, if you're so well branded, why did only 2 people trust you enough to sell their home? And there was this pregnant pause, and he said, I don't know. I said, would you like to understand why? He said, yes. So I started to explain this concept of outside perception. And the way I explained is all these homeowners look at you just like any other agent. All you do is stick a sign in the yard, list your home in the MLS, and wait for someone else to bring a buyer. He said, yeah, I would agree with that. I said, as long as they believe that you're just like anyone else, then they have no reason to choose you, because in their mind, they can choose any agent, and their home is going to sell in about the same amount of time for about the same price. But I said, imagine for a moment that every one of those homeowners out there were Cam. She understands everything about how hard you work, all your skill, all your degrees, all the extra steps that you do, the nuances, the drive, everything. If all of those homeowners were Cam, how many of those listings do you think you'd get? And Cam piped up and said, all of them. And that's what I mean. Outside perception is most agents do the same thing, but the inside reality is you're really special. The way that you build trust, back to your question, the way that you build trust is you've got to help them understand your inside reality of your skill and expertise to the degree that they would feel that they're a fool to choose anyone else besides you. The way that you get there is, as we've analyzed this and as we've tested it, what we found, there's a formula. I call it the 3 S's. It's a 3-step formula that as long as you do these 3 ingredients on all your marketing, then you will consistently move that needle to where they start to lean towards you all the time. The first S is showing off your successes. That means, let them know that you're constantly selling. The second S is to share the secrets behind those successes. Help them open up the kimono, so to speak, in terms of what is it that you do special that causes that sale to move faster or for a higher sales price. So they start to believe that you actually understand real estate at a level that most agents may not. And now they're from their mindset, you've got the expertise. And the third thing is what we call showing any unique services that you do. If you're familiar with the term unique selling proposition or USP, that's your USP. So when you show off your successes, explain what you're doing with those, and constantly have a USP, and you package that and send it out consistently, that starts to build the trust level that gets homeowners choosing you. Is this making sense?
Yes. In order to understand the case study, though, a little bit better, because what you're doing because I've trained my segment of our audience in a very particular way. When we start talking about a past history, a past client scenario, I've gotten them used or trained to the concept of referring to that as a case study. The case study that you're mentioning, which is great, by the way, and I'm loving it, is but I am curious. This agent, can you at least give us the part of the country that they were in? The person.
Yeah, Minnesota.
I'm sorry?
Mm-hmm. Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, and were they on the high end or the low end of the marketplace? In other words, were they selling your average,
Average, I think their average sales price is in the 250s, 280s, somewhere right in there.
Okay, all right, perfect. So yes, I do understand, and I do agree with what you're saying. The most important thing, or the thing that you're saying that is giving us more detail than things we've had on the show in the past, is definitely the middle S. It's past successors, but the secret to my formula, which is something that we've never quite called it, we've never packaged the information as beautifully as you're packaging it, and I'm really appreciating that. Like you're the secret of my success. That is not something that we've labeled that particular way. But anyway, please continue.
Yeah, but before we go, we're probably going to go for a break in a few moments, folks. But it's just one thing I want to clarify, because Betty has used the term top of mind. We also use omnipresence. We kind of mix that top of mind with omnipresence. That means you need to keep you or your brand, and you are normally your brand, in front of your target audience, because the more you do that effectively, the more chances that they will refer people to you. I just wanted to clarify that. So we're going to go for our break, folks, and we're going to come back. We're going to delve more into this fascinating area. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a fascinating conversation. So would you like to continue, Beatty?
Yes.
I'm really mixing this up, and I apologize.
That's no problem. I would love to continue, because you're getting me excited now. This is what I love to do. So back to your comment, Robert, that a lot of people have talked about it, but they haven't gone into the level. So let me talk about how specifically do you start to transfer, because this is a transfer of knowledge. This is a transfer of what you know about yourself, so that it becomes what they know about you. Let me share another case study, because this isn't isolated to just one location. I had another client. He was a 3-year agent at the time. He was targeting 1,200 homes in a farm. He'd been there for a year. He had no listings. And he called me up and said, "Can you help me?" And I said, "I think we can." And this is right at the beginning. This is like 4.5, 5 years ago, right at the beginning of the time that we started to be testing out this concept of the 3 S's. And long before we've got it to the perfection level that we have now. So we started to test some things out, and it took us about 4 months to get in gear with it, okay? And in those 4 months, he generated, I think, like 2 or 3 listings. And then from month 4 to month 8, he generated another 4 listings, and by the 8th month, he was getting 2 come list me now phone calls every single week. And here's what's really cool. Half of those calls were saying, Josh, I'm thinking about selling. Can you come talk to me? But the other half were saying, Josh, my home is on the market. It's not selling. As soon as my contract expires, will you come sell it for me? They never met the guy, but they were so convinced that he could do a better job, they were buying him sight unseen. When you can take a consumer who's never met you and convince them that you're the best, vicariously through the mail with postcards, imagine what you can do. If that's a geographic farm, imagine what you can do with your personal list, people who already know you. So the methodology is simple. First, you got to remember, you got to keep showing off your sales. The easiest way to do that is a just sold postcard. But then most agents just do a just sold postcard. And it shows a picture of the house. It says just sold, gives the address, and you flip it to the back of the card, and it says, I just sold this home. If you want me to sell yours, give me a call. Just the same thing that everyone else does. But if you take a little bit of extra time and effort and actually craft that just sold postcard to tell a story, okay? So now imagine the postcard comes out this way. The headline might say, sold in 5 days for full price. Okay, now already that's starting to express something that you've done that most agents don't do. It's pretty impressive. But then I tell a story about it. And the story might be, you know, the Smiths had just gotten a new job in another city. They had to move fast. They did not have much equity, but they needed all the equity they had in order to buy their new home. They knew that they needed an expert. They heard of my reputation, so they called me. Great decision. Because with aggressive marketing that began before the home even went on the market, we were able to generate 10 showings in the first 5 days. We created 3 offers and created a bidding war selling it for full price. So now I'm starting to explain a little bit about what happened. Or I can take that same concept and use a different just sold postcard, and I'm going to start to outline what are the things that I did to get the home ready to go on the market so that it sold fast. You know, we purged it of all the clutter. We staged it. We did simple fix-ups and repairs, and especially new coat of paint in the hallway and in the master bedroom and in the kitchen, okay? We used professional photography. I wrote custom ads to target the specific buyers who would want this type of home. And all of these things before it ever went on the market, so that once it went on the market, we created a deluge of prospects wanting to come see it. It's whatever it is that you do, you articulate it. And here's the thing that's really funny. I was talking to a client recently, and what the client was sharing is you know, it's like she said, the light bulb just came on. It's not that you're better than the other agents. It's simply that you're telling the homeowner what it is that you do so they perceive you as better. I said, that's it. Knowledge is power. And if they understand you, but they don't understand the other agent, they're more likely to choose you. Is this kind of making sense?
No, it makes very good sense. There's only one small alteration for just for John and our audience, which is actually, I think the vast majority of the people that we communicate with are going to be digital marketers more than traditional marketers. We have done direct mail specialists in the past on the show, and I'm sure that John has done way more than I have. So I'm going to say this for our audience. You can take the information that we're getting right now and in your mind transfer the direct mail piece into a landing page. This method would work beautifully if we were driving traffic from a digital source such as Google or Facebook, sending them to a page, and we could use exactly what...
It's most uncanny. Robert just reads my mind. Like, it's a bit boring, actually, but we tend to agree on almost everything. It's supposed to be, he tends to read my mind because that was what I was about to say myself. Sorry to interrupt, Robert.
No, I was about ready to massacre Beatty. Is it Beatty? Did I get it right?
Beatty.
Beatty.
Right, just
Sorry.
like Warren Beatty.
And Beatty.
No problem.
I was about ready to massacre Beatty's name. Anyway, so that's the only thing I would say. Other than that, I am loving every single. I have nothing to add.
Hey, Beatty, do you increase how much you're going to charge a client every time they get your Christian and surname incorrect?
Yeah, I wish I could, but I typically just forgive that. Yeah, I've been forgiven for all the bad things I've done, so I forgive those who do it against me.
Oh, right, that's true. Sorry, that was a bit of English humour there, folks. So back to your presentation, because I just thought you were covering some fantastic material here.
So let me play off of what you guys are talking about, because I think you make a great point. This is not a postcard. The postcard is simply the delivery medium for the message. It's the message that makes the difference. It's not the delivery medium. And so now if we're talking about landing pages, let's talk about how do you make that landing page more effective, okay? So as long as you're willing to go through a little bit more effort, you can take your numbers sky high. Let me see if this makes sense. I want to talk about in terms of what is it worth and how much time is it worth to put together. So you take your average agent, let's say they've been in business for 4 or 5 years. That agent's going to do about 15 to 20 transactions a year. They know probably 250 to 300 people, okay? So if you take the simple statistics of 17 sales per 100 as being what's possible, at 250 people, that's 40 sales a year that statistically you should be able to get from your list. If that average agent is doing 20 transactions a year, probably no more than 10 are coming from their personal contacts. So 40 minus 10 means that there's a differential of 30 listings, 30 sales a year that the average agent is losing. But when you start to multiply that by the average commission, I'll probably call it $7,000 per sale, that's $210,000 a year. Over 3 years, that's over $600,000 in commissions. Most agents are losing. The reason I go through this is because some of this is going to say, boy, this takes a lot of work. Well, how much work does it take to earn how much work does it take to lose $600,000 that could be your family's income rather than your competitors? This is the most important thing you can do. So as we're talking about digital marketing on a website, let's talk about kind of 3 stages of how you can do it. Stage number 1, you just put some text up there. Stage number 2, you put a photo of you in the house and the text and maybe a little bit audio. But the best thing would be to do it on video, because this is one of the elements we haven't gotten into yet. If you take trust is divided into 3 different segments in terms of the trust I'm talking about that causes a homeowner to choose you. And let's see if I can make sense in an analogy. I'm a homeowner. I want to sell my house, and I have 2 agents. I'm friends with both of them. I would trust my kids with both of those agents, okay? So that's one element of trust. One agent I know is a brand new agent. The other agent I know is a top producer and has been a top producer for 10 years. I trust them both equally socially, but which one am I going to trust my house to? What do y'all think?
John?
The new agent or the top producer?
John, I've been doing the whole, you do this one.
Oh, I would go with the top producer.
Absolutely, because I trust his expertise more. So trust is divided both by a relational trust. Have I met you? Okay. But then there's 2 other segments of trust, and this is what we're talking about. Do I trust that you're constantly selling? And do I trust that you have the expertise? And so if I can then put myself on a video, what happens is now they get a chance to meet me. Just like those of you online looking at me right now, you start to look at this guy and say, okay, he looks trustworthy. He sounds trustworthy. You've never met me personally, but you can put a face and a personality and a voice, and you say, I trust that guy. And that's what video can do beyond anything else. So if you would create a series for every postcard that you would have sent out, if this was a postcard world, the content that you put on the postcard, put that in a live video. So when people come to your website, they're able to see you, hear you, and you have your content underneath your video. They can read it as well, but now you're multiplying all the elements of trust, so you're more likely to get the deal. Making sense?
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're saying a lot of stuff that we believe in strongly. I have conversations about video with my clients and my prospective clients almost daily. So it's always nice to hear another marketing expert who makes their living selling marketing services talking about the same thing that you talk about with your clients. I've had the same results as you've had. Video is very impactful in terms of demonstrations of past success, such as testimonials, things like that. They're great. They're even better if you can take a 30-second video of a client you've just sold their home for and put that on your website. Video testimonials these days, in terms of demonstrations of success, are almost, I would guess, in terms of inspiring response, anywhere from 10 to 15 times more effective than simply getting a written testimonial in today's world. So those things I believe in strongly, and you're going right down the chain.
Well, cool. Well, let's hit that statistic you mentioned, because it correlates with another statistic.
Sure.
Did you know that your personal list, those people who have met you, are 8 to 10 times more likely to do business with you than that generic list who've never met you? Did you know that?
I've heard a lot of statistics, so yes, probably. But continue. What's
Yeah. So the correlation is that video testimony, they get a chance to meet the person as opposed to just read about them. And once you've met the person, that trust level goes up. And that's what I was talking about with video. Video allows them to meet you vicariously, even if they haven't met you in person. So that's why it's so powerful. One of the real reasons why it's so powerful.
Yeah, we need to wrap up the podcast, the show. Hopefully, Beatty will agree to stay on with us for additional 10 to 15 minutes, and we have some bonus content, because I think we're having a fabulous discussion. But we're going to wrap it up for the podcast. So, Beatty, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Great. So, by the way, there are 5 steps. We covered 2, so maybe we'll come back on another podcast if you let me on.
Yeah.
Best way to find out about me, reach out. I have a website. You can't buy anything there. It is a full download of everything I understand about how do you generate more seller leads, how do you convert them, everything about real estate marketing. It's called getsellerscallingyou.net. And in fact, if you like this topic of increasing sales and referrals from your past clients, when you go to getsellerscallingyou.net, it lands you on right on the page that allows you to get a free training we put together. It's a series of little 3 and 4 minute video clips. They'll come out once every few days or whatever. And step by step, really dissecting how do you get more sales, more referrals from your past clients, your sphere of influence, and people you know, and drive more business. So you also have our phone number and email address there if you're interested.
And you also do a podcast, don't you?
I do my own podcast right now. It's a download. You know, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to download everything I've learned on marketing, on responses, on conversion, on driving in seller leads. And so the podcast that we have over there, you can also find it at Stitcher, at iTunes, and Google Play, is Get Sellers Calling You. So yeah, if you want to look that up, love for you to join in on the podcast as well.
And we'll definitely have you back on the show as well. Robert, how can people find more about you and what you're up to?
Inboundrem.com. Come to the website, take a look at my blog or my university section, and at this point I have years worth of content in both sections, and I do some really deep dives into reviews and real estate technology companies that you probably will not find anywhere else. So that would be a reason to come check out Inbound REM.
And if you want to find more about the Mail-Right and what I'm up to, go to mail-right.com. There's all our past episodes, there's articles, and you can find more information about Mail-Right. And if you want a one-to-one with me, you can book a session, a totally free session, and I'll show you more about Mail-Right and try and help you increase how effective you are as an agent. We're going to wrap it up, like I say, this week. Hopefully continue the discussion, which you'll be able to see on our YouTube channel and on the Mailrite website. And hopefully next week we will be discussing something that will help you become a more effective real estate agent. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. Well, so continue on maybe on your pillars.
I think we're at step number 4, yes?
3, I think.
Step number 3, actually.
3. Okay.
Yeah, we're step number 3. So step number 3 is what I was calling top of mind, and I think what you call perpetual. What was it, Jonathan?
Omnipresence.
Omnipresent. That's right.
It's a posh term for top of mind, really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's all the same thing. It's so if you go back to a book, this is really interesting. Most of you guys, or some of you guys, may have read the book Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. Okay, and he talks about this thing called mindshare dominance. But the source of that content was a book written in the 1980s by Al Reese and his partner, and it was called Positioning. And what it says is that the homeowner, the consumer, can only remember 2 or maybe 3 brands at one time. And so if you're in a market where you got tons of brands, which we are in real estate, then that typical homeowner is going to remember typically 2 or 3 agents. And if you're not one of those 2 or 3, you're not even going to get a chance at the deal. And so that's talking about a lot, in large part, top of mind. And the key is, how do you stay top of mind? And I was doing a training recently for a large brokerage office. And the broker, a guy named Dave, was in there. And we're talking on the subject of top of mind. I was asking him, are all touches the same? And he said, yes. And you guys know the all touches probably not, but just for those listeners out there, I said, okay, so let me see if this makes sense. So I send you an email, okay, and that email says it's summertime. I hope you have a good summer. Or I could show up at your house unexpectedly and I say, hey, my wife baked you guys some cookies. We just love your friendship and just wanted to bless you. I was in the area. I hope you enjoy these cookies. You're telling me that both of those touches are equal impact? I'm telling you they're not. So what you have is, to stay top of mind, you've got to constantly be in front of people. But the question is, how can you be in front of them without overdoing your welcome? And what I see, back to your original question, Jonathan, what do most agents do wrong? When they do top of mind, one of the things that they do wrong is they think it's an email campaign, that any email works. And so they go buy an email campaign off the shelf, or they use one that their company provides, and they think this is all you need to stay top of mind. The challenge is, sometimes you may not know it, but you're actually ticking your prospect off rather than increasing value. So I see you laughing right there, Jonathan. So I got to tell you a story. I bought a house recently, and my loan officer, Dave, puts me on this drip email campaign. And I get so frustrated. I'm actually, as a marketer, I created a folder on my computer, stupid email series. Yeah. And I don't even read them. I just slide them into that folder because I'm going, are you serious? You're actually sending me this type of...
You just bought a house and he's probably sending you canned material about information if you were thinking of buying that would help you if you were actually thinking of buying a house. Am I on the right path here?
Well, almost. So let me see. Let me take a guess. You get a lot of emails every day. Is that right, Jonathan?
Only a few.
Okay, yeah, absolutely a few. Okay. When you get an email that adds no value to you, is that a pleasant experience or a negative experience?
As somebody used to getting them, if they consistently keep sending and they just get unsubscribed, I don't let it. Yeah, I'm waffling. I apologize. I find it a little bit annoying.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what these are. I get so many emails, I can't manage it. And so, like, one of the emails says, how to clean pillows. I don't care about cleaning pillows. Or another email says, it's summertime. And I open it, it's just this picture that says, enjoy your summer. I'm going, you wasted my time for that. And so what happens is just like you, people are going to unsubscribe. They're going hard to delete, but they're getting this negative impression saying, you're violating my space because you're not adding value. So when you do a touch, you've got to look at what adds value to that homeowner. And the more that you can add value, the more frequently you can touch them. So we have a client that I think from an email series has broken the code on this. He touches his list weekly, 52 times a year. If he misses an email, they actually email him back and say, Stuart, we didn't get that email. Can you please send it this week? I missed it. And when you've got your people wanting what you have so much that they recognize when they don't get it, then you got a touch system that allows you to stay always in front of them and keep driving value. You have a question?
But can you tell me, you left it out there. What does he do? What is he doing?
Okay, good. That's the response I want to get. So it's all consumer-facing, not realtor-facing. And what he found is human interest stories. Do y'all ever remember the radio announcer, Paul Harvey? Does that ring a bell?
The reason I'm laughing is it's part of the mail-right system, but I get attacked for encouraging. I'm waffling again. I interrupted you, but it's just so. This interview has been so a delight, but strange. Is that I think all three of us are totally on the same wavelength. Continue. I apologise.
Okay, yeah. So human interest stories. If I can share something that someone can read and they go, oh, this is wonderful. It makes my heart feel good. I'm ready to take the day today. Then they look forward to it like a cup of coffee, okay? But when you send them garbage that adds no value, then it becomes a negative impression. So to stay top of mind, you've got to find those things that are going to be positively received rather than negative. And the more positive they are, the more frequently you can touch them. So my friend, okay, let me tell you a little bit about him because it's really amazing. He does 80 to 100 transactions a year on 35 to 40 hours a week. He doesn't work weekends and he rarely works evenings. And the way he's done it, he's figured out I can educate them my expertise and I can touch them all the time. And between trust and top of mind, they just flood to him. And that's the third pillar, is this whole concept of just staying top of mind. And there are lots of things you can do. The email stuff is one, but there's a lot of other things. If you can apply the process of, does this add value, then you'll always stay top of mind.
Yeah, and I also feel, it's a subject that we've touched in our previous internal discussions and with guests, is segmentation of your list, of building a list. Slightly, I kind of have like my really hot, my personal, my, the kind of people that we've been talking about through this interview that are part of that segment. And then there's other segments, and you need to segment your list and then send them relevant information either through email, text, postcard. It doesn't really matter. We've touched that, haven't we? That it's the message that really matters, doesn't it?
But it does. But did I miss it? Do we have a couple of specific examples? Do you happen to know what he specifically sends 52 times a week? I mean, you touched on the broad category.
I can show you examples of that on the MailRite website.
Okay,
right.
You're killing me. I want to hear like an example or two. Like,
okay, so here's an example. The story starts off first person. My dad was a storekeeper, and we lived above our store. And I was good in school and good in math. And then my dad encouraged me to go to this music facility. And I started to learn music, and I really enjoyed music. And by the time I got to high school and graduating high school, I had a choice to make. Do I go into and pursue math, or do I go in and pursue music? And I didn't know which way to go. And I talked to my dad, and my dad said, you can only sit in one chair. Pick the chair you want to sit in for the long term and pursue that. He said, well, I decided to go into music then. So I started to pursue music. And after 10 years, I was able to go to the Carnegie Hall. a few years later, I was able to perform before the Pope, and he starts listing all of these places, and you go, oh my gosh, and at the bottom it's signed Pavarotti. Okay, so it's one of those things that it draws you in, and it's just this good feeling. Wow, and maybe somewhere in that comment, someone made a comment said, "Oh, Pavarotti, I wish I could do music like you. I'd give anything to be like you, and or I'd give my life to do it." And he looked at her and said, "I did." Okay, so those are the type of human interest stories I'm talking about. Things
so
that
emails, things like that, 52 times a week. So we're not talking like home improvements, and we're not talking the local home values. We're talking something else.
Yeah, almost, but 52 times a week might be a little overkill.
Sorry,
So
52 times a year.
52 times a year, right.
It's very early in the morning for me. I am nocturnal. So
He's a night lover at heart. I'm an early getting up early person. That's the only difference, really. But there we are. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. But I just want to tell the audience, these are people that you have built trust, and you're sending them content that is trust building and interesting, but that's why you need to segment have a really quality list and have a big list, and then the people you send this will be a smaller segment. Some other parts of your list you probably wouldn't send something. You send something in speech marks, which would be more traditional, which is more about if they're actually in the process of buying or selling a house. That some of the content that Robert just mentioned is probably correct to send them. What do you think? Well, am I waffling there, Beatty?
I think you're right. They're only going to want to receive the email from you initially if they know you and they're going to open it. And if you're just a stranger, it's not as effective. But what's interesting is if it's content they want, then whether they know you really well or know you just casually, if they like the content, they're going to appreciate it. And that's the cool thing with this. If I can give you what you want, then whether I'm a close friend or a distant friend, you'll still want to receive it. And that's where the whole value proposition comes in.
But a lot of agents don't understand, especially email marketing, really. It's just like I get a lot of email, and I know, and a lot of it I unsubscribe, especially when I haven't signed up for it, or I can sign up for stuff and not even remember that I signed up. But I don't get that bothered, long as they have a really easy way of unsubscribing. But then I have a section of people that send me that I really see as experts in marketing, because that's what I'm interested in, and Facebook and WordPress. They are my interests. And they send me email, and I don't read it all, but I choose not to unsubscribe because I know that maybe that particular email wasn't totally interesting, but I've got pretty good confidence that the next email will have something interesting in it. What do you reckon about that?
I did the same thing. There are some emails that I rarely read, but I don't unsubscribe because there's enough value over time that I go, wow, that can help me with my business. And so I buy in entirely with what you're talking about.
There's a bit around what you said at the beginning of this conversation around trust, isn't it?
That's all it is. It's trust. It's that expertise. And when you really boil it down, what all of this comes back into in that great big cauldron is, do they perceive you as giving them the value they want? Because we're all value seekers. And the ultimate thing, if I'm going to buy a house, buy a car, hire a person, go out on a date, whatever it is, ultimately it's I've got a certain thing of value I'm looking for, something I desire out of that. And if you can show me that you can deliver for me, then I'm going to be more likely to do business with you.
I think that was a great summary. I think we're going to wrap it up because you're getting a lot of phone calls, but there we go. They're probably we're going to wrap it up. I think it's been a fascinating conversation. We'll be back next week with I think next week we'll be with an internal show where we'll be continuing our ongoing series about SEO. It'll be part 3. And thank you so much for being our guest. It's been fantastic.
It's lovely meeting you. Love this conversation.
Right, you will be coming back. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks.